Yeah,
So,
if only we had
so
some sort of platform to foist songs on each other that we can't avoid and must listen to.
it will happen. It will happen someday. Some bright spot will come up with it. Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name is John. His name is Andy.
Is.
They call me Hal. They call me Stacy. They call me her. They call me Jane. More on that later. But first, we have a song to listen to, provided by my compadre, Andy. Andy, what have you got?
I have got a band called Stars. Are you familiar with them? Have you ever heard of them?
No, I think so. This is one of those generic, we've said this
Yeah.
before, this is generic,
It's what I experienced when you said curve. I'm like, yeah, sure.
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. Okay,
It
cool.
was
Well,
it was this horrible phenomenon in the UK in the late 70s and into the early 80s called Stars on 45. And it was a bunch of producers who I believe then morphed eventually into Stock Aitken Waterman. It might not have been, but I've got an inkling it was. The first outing, Stars on 45, was this single, would have been 4-minute track, but it had snippets of Beatles songs, like sort of a bit of a verse or a bit of a chorus of a Beatles song, one
hmm.
going into another with this beat behind it. Fucking abomination. And then they did one that was like a swing jazzy, swing stuff from like the 40s, like Glenn Miller and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
These were massive sellers, the number ones, in the singles charts. I'm sure they did some others. And I think that led on to like Jive Bunny and other horrible fucking stuff. None of which has anything to do with this. I apologize for bringing it up. Anyway,
Oh God. Okay. Well, the track is 14 Forever. So
okay.
Stars 14 Forever. Go off and give that a listen and come back and let me know what you think, man.
Okay. Okay, that's an interesting start. It's a really nice start with the percussion. I think it was a wood block, and it had this muffled, syncopated bass drum that was doing the different beats and piano chords as well. That was really nice. And then the vocals kicked in. Yeah, not so sure about the filter on that. I think 90% of the time folks put a filter on their vocals because they think it sounds cool rather than some hidden message or meaning. I see the EP name is Sad Robots. I don't know if he's trying to sound like that, but he sounds more like he's singing out of an empty baked bean tin. Yeah. And then came some electronic sort of sweepings and twitterings, which is quite nice and sort of ushered you through like very efficient ushers at a wedding into the main all of the song, whatever. And there was another little sort of, I think it was electronic, but it almost sounded like a nice high brass instrument. Um, it's got some interesting bits to it. It sounds quite uplifting.
The hit is hammered out, the audience erupts. The revolution starts in a sea of paper cups. We're up behind us when you cheer for someone else. I'm the only lover you can keep up on the shelf. I hear it in your voice, you're tired of the song now. Deep inside your mind you hear a song of your own. But keep me beside you, 'cause it's been too long now. I'm floating forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm floating forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm floating forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm floating forever.
I really like everything about that, apart from the affectation on his vocals. That sort of bit there, we started singing "Falling Forever." It's kind of a touch. Yeah, again, I'm sure it's electronic, but it's like almost clarinety sort of sound. It's really sweet, and I don't know. Yeah, just really nice and quite. I know singing 14 Forever, but it kind of makes you feel that sort of. There's a sort of reminiscence to it almost. That's what feeling I'm getting from it. Anyway, I really like the percussion as well. Really good. All right, let's just listen to that bit again.
I remember on the sidewalk when I'd bike up to the hills, you singing in the headphones as I told.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between decent vocals and affected ones that have been pissed around in production. She, I presume, sounds lovely. It's really sweet, innocent voice as well, which kind of fits with the vibe. Yeah, nice.
Told him that I will. That song again in the alleyway takes me to my door. I'll be back for more. I'll be back for more. I'll be back for more. I'll be back
Yeah, that was really interesting. There's bits of that I really liked. They did do some bits really successfully. At the core of this song, there's just like solid, almost earthy core, the piano and the percussion, and it's sort of taking you along. And then you've got all the various electronica. Um, Sometimes it's doing sort of burbling and some funky sort of low down stuff. But other times, and that sort of clarinety thing that I spoke about. But other times, there's this weird, ethereal dreaminess to it as well. The sort of and the two have blended really well. It's not jarring at all. I really liked her vocals. There's a lot of hope in her voice as well, and this sort of youthful, not yet cynical tone to her voice. Didn't pay attention to what she was saying. She could have been saying anything really biting, but it just sounded really nice, actually. Yeah, this was pleasant. Not 100% successful for me, but pretty good. Pretty good. Right, let's go back with Andy and find out a bit more about this.
Welcome back. So, what do you say?
This is interesting, and have a lot of interesting points to this. I wouldn't say this is 100% a hit with me. There's one bit in particular which yeah, but there was other bits which I really liked, and also other bits which sort of made me ponder. I think this is a track which I'll have to listen to a couple more times. But yeah, very interesting. So intro as a nice beat with a wooden block, I believe, wooden block action, and then piano chords, and then there's this syncopated bass drum, which is offbeat. And I think there's some brushwork in there as well. There's definitely a sort of slippiness to it.
Yeah.
And it's really nice start. And then the vocals kick in. And I am not keen on that vocal filter at all. I can see from the thumbnail that the title is the Sad Robots EP. And I think I said in reaction that, 90% of the time when people do these sort of things, it's because they think it's neat rather than how integral to the song. I don't know if they're trying to convey this sad robot theme or whatever. To me, it sounded like he's singing from the arse end of an empty baked bean tin. And it just didn't. I took an instinctive dislike to the quality of his vocals. I'm sure he has a lovely voice, but nah, didn't like that. Anyway, there's a couple of lines. The piano sounded lovely. And then there's an electronic burble, I shall call it, which kind of leads into other sweeping synth parts coming to the show. And it feels like the curtains are being pulled back. We're being ushered gently into the song proper to reveal the whole scene. And it was quite a nice musical sort of technique, which I enjoyed. I think amongst the sounds, because there's definitely some synthy bits, there's now a real bass kicking in. And with the piano, it kind of tethers the song. I'm making a lot of assumptions here, so many of them will be wrong. But there's this bit that comes in, which I believe is synthetic, but it sounds a bit almost like a clarinet. And I really like that. And the beat changes at this point as well and becomes, rather than that sort of loosey-goosey, nicey, it goes into a more sort of, straightforward 4x4 beat almost. And I get this sense from the music, for no reason at all, this uplifting feeling of hope. And I also get a pastoral vibe. I do suspect that I am projecting on this. And it's not really there, but I think because I associate stuff like that with that sound. So back to the verse form, it gets stripped back, but that same beat continues from the chorus, as it were. So it's not gone back to the previous verses beats, and it's the same tempo. There's some more burbles and sweeping and some electronic noodling. That woodwind sound comes back in. As he repeats the 14 Forever, I'm getting sort of waves of nostalgia, which would probably, I guess, would be, I mean, if he's talking about the age 14 rather than his dress size, I don't know. That would make sense. But there's also a certain kind of sweet naivety to it as well. But again, I may be projecting here. So there's a brief little break, and within that, I am seeing gambling lambs in those imagined fields, but they've had shakers attached to their tails. And there's like a really beautiful piano cameo with a gorgeous bass as well. And hello, a real voice kicks in. And her voice, I don't know if it's the contrast between the two, but at that time, her voice sounds so innocent and so beautiful. It is pretty captivating. And again, the piano chords give it this heartening feel. And Shietta's I'll Be Back for More, and then we kind of float off into the ether. I love the piano, and I really, really like the percussion. There was a lot more to it than I've described here. It just was really intricate and really nice, and they used it well. And there's the main thing about the song was there was a very successful, and this is quite rare, but a very successful marriage of traditional instruments, you call it, which kind of gave it this physical, earthbound core to the song, and then the electronica, which was used to add these ethereal brushstrokes over the top and give it that dreamy quality. Would it have been better with her from the very start? Maybe it was the contrast that made me like her even more. I don't know. That's probably my main problem is the male vocal, because the other bits I thought were really interesting. So yeah, it's a 80, 85, 90% thumbs up for me. Really.
Yeah. Good, man. I'm glad
But
you
it's a
liked
very
it.
interesting approach how they did it. I liked it.
It is, yeah. And I think I don't know, I guess it's like the sometimes I guess when you're being nostalgic, one can either look back at something at a memory and be heartened or warmed by it, and then maybe there's this sort of like, oh no, it's gone, kind of regret, almost sorrow to it, that depending on the how you're looking at it. And the sad robot thing, like this little EP is kind of a little piece of nostalgia, but because they're incorporating electronic instrumentation for 50% of the music, there is sort of this sad robot. I mean, when you really break it down, like sad and robot are words that could be spawned by AI having listened to this, you know what I mean? So it's, I think, an interesting name that they gave it, but yeah, for a lot of the reasons that you like the song, I like it too. And I'm not overly sold on the guy's performance either. And yet I still think it adds to the overall song because, like you noted, the contrast between the two perspectives or narrators of the song, if you will. So maybe it'll grow on you if you give it another listen or whatever, should you feel
maybe
the need to revisit.
But it was a gut reaction rather than a
sure, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that's all
like
we
this.
want.
And again, that can change,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So they are a Canadian indie pop / rock band based in Montreal, Quebec. Since forming in 2000, they have released 9 albums and multiple EPs. This is one of them. Their music has been nominated for 2 Juno Awards and 2 Polaris Music Prizes. And Torquil, this is a really interesting name, Torquil Campbell. I get to talk about shades of old money in that as well. And Christopher Seligman recorded the first Stars album Night Songs in New York in 1999. When they began to do live shows, they called in Evan Cranley, a childhood friend, to play bass, and Cranley then recruited Amy Millen to be part of the band, and that's the female vocalist that you heard on this track. After a short stint in New York, the 4 musicians moved back to, well, some of them moved back to, they all moved to Montreal, some of whom were already from Montreal, having lived in New York for a bit. So they all moved back to Montreal and began to work on their second full-length album, Heart. In Montreal, they met Patrick McGee, who became their drummer. So stars have cited a wide variety of musical influences, ranging from Berlioz to Outkast, citing, among others, Patty McAloon, New Order, The Smiths, Brian Wilson, and Momus or Mamas. I'm not familiar with them. They
Momus.
covered the what's that?
Momus.
Momus. Okay, they cover. I
Paddy
figured.
McAloon is Prefab Sprout.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I
This
could
is
hear
all very
that. Yeah.
helpful. They covered the Smiths' This Charming Man on 2001's Night Songs and the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York in 2005. Yeah, I had to chuckle at that myself. So Star's music has been described as beautiful, eloquent indie pop, characterized by lush instrumentation, nimble production and mixing, narrative lyrics, and soft but nuanced vocals. The band's style has evolved from electronic pop sound as heard on Night Songs to more rock-based instrumentation on their following 3 full-length albums. On September 1st, 2008, the band released the EP Sad Robots, on which this tune features, through their online store, and also sold physical versions of it only during live performances. In a review for this EP, your beloved Pitchfork's Nitsa Ababy writes of Stars, "They are the band that makes the records you clutch to your chest like a prep school misfit in a 1980s movie. The band that cuts out the construction paper heart to wear on your sleeve. They make records that get down on their knees and beg to be quoted in someone's yearbook." So I thought that was funny given the nostalgic nature of the tune, because it does kind of have that quality about it.
I have to say, Andy, it just struck me. This is very much got the vibe of. I mean, you'd be surprised probably for me to say this, but this is like a refined and gentler version of some of Grandaddy's stuff. If you take out the skateboarder Modesto side of them,
Yeah.
he does do some, and he actually does shit. He does actually refer to robots quite a bit in his song. That's just one earlier.
Yeah.
And then there's that lovely oh man, I've forgotten the lyric now, but it's basically starts off with someone saying that the guy switches off the lights in the factory so all the robots have to work in the dark, which I thought was a great sort of there. And quite you can picture it straight away, can't you? And there's a sadness, a robot sadness to it.
Yeah.
But they don't fucking care. They're robots. They're not real, but they're
Yeah.
not people. But yeah, no, this does. The more you're talking about it, actually, it does feel like a refined and gentler version without the skateboarder
Yeah.
of Granddaddy, which is interesting. Actually,
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
so there's
And
probably stuff for theirs I would like even more. And it's probably stuff of Granddaddy's that you would like even more, actually.
Yeah, yeah, I would venture to say you're right. Well,
Yeah.
there's something we could think about. The year just started, so
If only we had a chance.
yeah, if only we had some sort of platform to foist songs on each other that we can't avoid and must listen to.
It will happen. It will happen someday. Some bright spot will come up with it.
The lyrics. 10,000 drunken kids in a field can't be wrong. And there you go, pastoral fields, as you mentioned. The song must be beautiful or they wouldn't sing along. And if sometimes the kids all seem a little sad, it's because they're saying goodbye to the youth they think they had. I see it in your eyes. You're sick of me lying. I want to tell the truth, but I'm afraid that you'll leave. I sing like a child to keep me from dying. I'm 14 forever if I make you believe. I'm 14 forever if I make you believe. I'm 14 forever if I make you believe. The hit is hammered out. The audience erupts. The revolution starts in a sea of paper cups. We look behind us when you cheer for someone else. I'm the only lover you can keep upon the shelf. I hear it in your voice. You're tired of the song now. And deep inside your mind, you hear a song of your own. But keep me beside you, because it's been too long now. I'm 14 forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm 14 forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm 14 forever, so don't leave me alone. I'm 14 forever. I remember on the sidewalk when I bike up to the hills, you singing in the headphones as I told you that I will. That song again in the alleyway takes me to the door. I'll be back for more. 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 And that's the tune. So
Oh,
I
well,
would have.
it's obvious from that. I mean, that this is a seminal point in their life, and it is for a lot of people. I know you're always banging on about it, but you never forget your first Taylor Swift concert, and that's clearly what's happened here.
Yep.
Um,
And you hope you'll never see your last, as I always say.
yes.
Anyway. No, I think this is hugely nostalgic song.
Yeah.
And I think it taps into that, right? Like not want like youth being fleeting and not wanting to let it go. Sort of this Peter Pan complex that I think, I don't know, like for me, this is gonna sound, wildly immature, but it was my experience that I remember like in my 20s, like having this feeling of like, oh fuck. Like the realization that 30 was closer to me than 20 once was, and oh shit, here we go. And this is about when this song came out for me. So like it was, it just, there was synergy there where like this is where my headspace was. This song is capturing that moment. And yeah, I just gravitated toward it. So I thought I would, and it has elements enough, and as you've said, of things that I know you like, that you'd at least appreciate this, if not like it somewhat, right? And it sounds like you said 80 to 90% on the
Yeah.
on the chart to 100. So not too bad, not too shabby.
Oh, sorry, out of 500.
Oh, out of 500, right? Yeah. Wow. I
No, I
believe
think
that's
I've told you this before, probably off camera, but I have no problem with birthdays or numbers. The only time I had a meltdown was when I turned 20, and my girlfriend at the time found me sulking in my room in my student house because I was no longer a teenager. And that's the birthday that hit me the hardest. That I was no longer. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I was like, yeah, oh, I want to be a teenager forever. And in some ways, I was. But, yeah.
Man, your age crisis, you peaked early on that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, well, thank you so much for giving this a listen, guys out
Yeah,
there.
I enjoyed
Let us
it.
know what you thought of this Canadian outfit known as Stars, and if you've ever heard them before, or if you like some of their stuff, what it might be. Perhaps if it reminded you of stuff like John had mentioned with Granddaddy, if it reminded you of anything, feel free to let us know. We love interacting with you guys, seeing you guys interact with one another. That's kind of why we're here. So also, while we have your attention, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. We're trying to grow the channel. Can't do that without you guys. So we really, really would appreciate it if you're new here, giving us the thumbs up, sticking around, hitting that subscribe button, because we'd love to have you aboard. All that out of the way, John and I hope to see all y'all and plenty more on the next episode of the Audiophiles. See you guys.